Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Welcome everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. Welcome to Dear Eva Inspiring Solutions. Welcome to Live Talk. Welcome everyone. I'm here. I'm back. Let's do live talk or live quiz B. Welcome everyone. I'm here. Hello, hello. I'm here. Wait, let me get the stand. Where's the stand of this one? Zo. It's midnight in Netherlands. Yes, Netherlands time is midnight. Hello everyone. Wait, kukunin ko lang yung stand. Cell phone stand. Where is the cell phone stand? Okay, here. Hello. I'm back. I'm here. Yes, I'm here. Okay, let's do live quiz B. Live quiz B or live talk. Yeah, let's do live talk. Okay, where should I put this one? Okay, here. Let's put it here. Hello. Yes. Here. Okay. Now here it is. Okay. Okay. I'm here, everyone. Yes, piano. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay, let's do karaoke live or anything with live quiz B, live talk, or karaoke live. You can choose. Please type your message. Hello everyone. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Welcome everyone. Welcome kabayan. And while I'm cooking, I'm still cooking. I'll be back later. Yes? So, hello everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Let's do live talk today. Live talk or live quiz B while I'm still cooking. I'm sorry guys, I'm still cooking and doing live stream at the same time to use the time productively. So while cooking, I do live streaming. Thank you so much for your time everyone. Please type your message. Hi, give was you. Hello to you. Give Washu, hello to you. Welcome to my live stream. Welcome. Okay.
And once you understand it, you will never see the world the same way again. A man who looks poor is already judged guilty before he
Okay.
opens his mouth. In a world
Hi,
ruled by
hi.
appearances,
Okay, I'd like to move to TV. So we're going to watch this. It's Stoic philosophy. Very inspiring. Yes, very inspiring. Just listen. If you're busy, you can just listen. Look at that.
despised
Oh,
not
wow,
for his
wow, wow.
hunger, but for what his hunger reveals.
Look at that.
Impotence, failure, disposability,
Okay, here. Now let's start.
but because of how they appeared. People judge in seconds, and once that judgment is made, it almost never goes away. Machiavelli called this one of the harshest laws of human.
Yeah. So sometimes society is unfair. Yeah. So that's why we need to help ourselves a little. No need to look very rich. No need. It, look, it's a very good advice. Look at that. I would like to share with you guys.
Have you
Okay.
ever noticed how some men get ignored before they even speak,
Yep.
while others are respected the moment they walk in?
Yes, true.
Countless men who have everything to offer have been erased, not because they lacked worth, but because of how they appeared. People judge in seconds, and once that judgment is made, it almost never goes away. Machiavelli called this one of the harshest laws of human nature, a rule that rewards fools who look strong and punishes great men who look weak. You've seen it play out your whole life, but you may not have realized what was happening. If you learn to master it, this same rule that destroys most men can become the tool that lifts you above.
Yes, I need
The line
to do
between being
this.
ignored and being respected. And once you understand it, you will never see the world the same way again. A man who looks poor is already judged guilty before he opens his mouth. In a world ruled by appearances, weakness is a sentence passed instantly and without appeal. When the eye meets a man's figure, when it
Hello,
takes in his
hello,
clothes,
Olive. Thank
his
you.
posture, his bearing, the judgment is made before a single word can redeem him. The beggar is despised not for his hunger, but for what his hunger reveals: impotence, failure, disposability. A man who looks poor is a man marked for trampling. He can possess wisdom, strength, even virtue, but the covering that clothes him will condemn him. In the
Yeah,
court of men, perception is law, and the law is merciless. Those who project lack invite scorn. Those who project strength command obedience. To appear poor is to be invisible at best.
Even Dre
ridiculed at
Lewis,
worst,
hello to
destroyed
you.
when
Thank you so
convenient.
much. I'm still
Consider how
cooking. I'm
merchants
sorry, guys. I'm
treat
still
customers.
cooking for
A
my
man in
dinner.
rags
Yeah,
enters a
for my
shop,
sickness,
and
I have
eyes turn
special
away.
food.
Service becomes
So to
sluggish.
use
The
the
offer's
time
diminished.
productively,
The tone
productively,
sharpens.
I would like
Another
to
man
share
enters,
this one.
clean,
Look at it.
composed, adorned with signs of wealth.
Yeah.
And suddenly every hand is eager to serve. Every word is honeyed. The goods have not changed. The coins in their purses may weigh the same, but the appearance decides the respect they command. In the palace of power, this law is even sharper. A man who dresses below his station, who
Wait, let
fails
me
to
start.
signal wealth,
Somebody messaged me on Facebook. Start. Okay. So here it is.
not because they lacked worth, but because of how they appeared. People judge in seconds, and once that judgment is made, it almost never goes away. Machiavelli called this one of the harshest laws of human nature, a
True.
rule that rewards fools who look strong and punishes great men who look weak. You've seen it play out your whole life, but you may not have realized what was happening. If you learn to master it, this same rule that destroys most men can become the tool that lifts you above them. It's the line between being ignored and being respected. And once you understand it, you will never see the world the same way again. A man who looks poor is already judged guilty before he opens his mouth. In a world ruled by appearances, weakness is a sentence passed instantly and without appeal. When the eye meets a man's figure, when it takes in his clothes, his posture, his bearing, the judgment is made before a single word can redeem him. The beggar is despised not for his hunger, but for what his hunger reveals: impotence, failure, disposability. A man who looks poor is a man marked for trampling. He can possess wisdom, strength, even virtue, but the covering that clothes him will condemn him. In the court of men, perception is law, and the law is merciless. Those who project lack invite scorn. Those who project strength command obedience. To appear poor is to be invisible at best, ridiculed at worst, destroyed when convenient. Consider how merchants treat customers. A man in rags enters a shop, and eyes turn away. Service becomes sluggish. The offers diminish.
Hello, Stefan Maker. Thank you, Stefan. Yes, I'm cooking. I'm cooking for my dinner. I have special food for my sickness, my thyroid, my cholesterol. So while cooking, I'm doing this one. I'm sorry, guys. I'm still cooking. I'm sorry.
Appearance decides the respect they command. In the palace of power, this law is even sharper. A man who dresses below his station, who fails to signal wealth, who neglects the armor of appearances, will find doors closed, allies scarce, and enemies bold. His poverty brands him as prey. Power respects the image, not the truth. Truth is too slow to persuade. Image strikes instantly, before the mind can resist. And so a man who looks poor dies politically before he even begins to live. History is littered with men who could not master this law. Think of the forgotten advisor whose counsel was sound, yet whose shabby garments caused princes to dismiss him. Think of the scholar whose brilliance was buried beneath ridicule because he lacked the polish of wealth. They were not defeated by their ideas, but by their failure to dress them in power. Meanwhile, lesser men, adorned in splendor, were hailed as geniuses, applauded as leaders, entrusted with authority. The crowd, like cattle, follows the banner, not the truth. Appear poor, and your wisdom will rot unheard. Appear rich, and your lies will be taken as scripture. This is the brutal geometry of perception. It is better to fake greatness than to show naked poverty. To walk the world without the mask of wealth is to invite humiliation. Imagine the man in the market whose shoes are cracked, whose jacket is thin, whose posture bends with shame. He passes and the crowd sees not a man, but a warning. This is what failure looks like, whispers every eye. He becomes an example to frighten others. But imagine another man, no richer in coin, yet shrouded in clean attire, upright, his gaze steady. The world bends differently around him. Traders lower their prices, women soften their voices, guards part ways. Both men may share the same poverty, but one has disguised it, and in disguise he has power. Men do not obey the facts, they obey the symbols. Appearances enslave them more than reality ever could. You must understand that poverty is not simply the absence of wealth, it is the presence of weakness. And weakness is blood in the water. To display it openly is to beg the wolves to feast. The man who looks poor invites betrayal, insult, dismissal, robbery. His voice carries no weight, his warnings are ignored, his ambitions are mocked. But the man who cloaks his poverty who wears the armor of wealth, even when hollow, terrifies predators into hesitation. They see the sign of strength and mistake it for reality. They restrain their bite. Power is perception first, substance second. It is enough to look formidable until you can become formidable. Those who fail to master this die before their chance arrives. Even in matters of survival, appearance decides fate. A general whose troops march ragged into the field already signals defeat. His enemies see weakness, his allies doubt his strength, and his soldiers feel shame. Victory begins with spectacle, the shine of armor, the discipline of formation, the banners held high. These are not empty shows. They are weapons sharper than steel, for they strike the mind before the body. A man is already conquered when he believes he faces a superior force. So too in life. Look poor, and others will assume you are conquered already. They will treat you as vanquished. They will strip what little you have left without guilt, for weakness excuses all cruelty. Do not imagine that humility will save you. Do not believe that modesty will be rewarded. These are lies told by the powerful to keep the weak docile. The world admires wealth, despises poverty, and pretends this is virtue. The priest may praise humility in his sermons, but even he bows deeper to the rich man in his congregation. The ruler may speak of equality, but he dines only with those whose garments shine. The scholar may write of the nobility of poverty, but he dreams of the velvet chair in the palace. Men worship appearances because appearances govern their fears and desires. To look poor is to be treated as poor. To look powerful is to be treated as powerful, even if beneath the cloak you tremble with hunger. Remember this: reputation is armor. It is not enough to be strong. You must look strong. It is not enough to be clever. You must look clever. Men judge not by truth, but by what their eyes can seize in an instant. They cannot read your heart, but they can read your shoes. They cannot see your mind, but they can see your clothes. They cannot weigh your courage, but they can weigh your posture. And they decide your fate on this evidence alone. To neglect this law is suicide. To master it is survival. Every prince, every ruler, every merchant, every soldier knows it. Only the fool ignores it. Only the poor man despises it, and in despising it remains poor. If you wish to rise, you must cloak yourself. Cloak your weakness in symbols of strength. Cloak your poverty in signs of wealth. Cloak your doubt in gestures of certainty. The world is blind to essence. It worships masks. Give it a mask of power, and it will kneel before you. Give it the naked truth of your poverty, and it will spit on you. A man who looks poor is already conquered, already forgotten, already erased. And yet, in this truth lies your first weapon. For if appearance decides all, then appearance can be mastered. But mastery requires sacrifice, and sacrifice requires cunning. For to cloak yourself in strength while hollow demands calculation beyond the reach of the average man. Would you dare attempt it? Would you dare carry the mask until the mask becomes your face? Then understand this: men do not forgive weakness once they have seen it. The moment you display the image of poverty, the stain clings to you like rot. Even if fortune later raises you, even if riches flow into your hands, there will always remain the memory of your earlier wretchedness. Men will whisper, "He was once nothing," and that whisper will erode respect like water breaking stone. The powerful are not judged only by what they are today, but by what they have always appeared to be. A prince born poor but hiding it skillfully may be admired as mysterious. A prince who shows his poverty openly will forever be haunted by it, no matter how high he climbs. The lesson is simple: never let them see you fall beneath the dignity of wealth. Better to starve in silence than to let them watch you eat scraps. In every street, in every gathering, you can see the law at work. Watch how a crowd parts for the man dressed in elegance, while it closes upon the ragged as though they were diseased. Observe how silence falls when the adorned one speaks, while the poor man's words vanish like smoke in the wind. This is not merely vanity. This is survival. For men associate the image of wealth with capability, with resources, with danger, and they associate the image of poverty with impotence, with lack, with safety to exploit. He who looks rich is approached with caution. He who looks poor is attacked without fear. To be underestimated is not a blessing, it is a slow death. For the underestimated man is stripped of allies, ignored in councils, dismissed in courts. Even his enemies waste no time destroying him, for he is not worth the effort. He is allowed to decay in obscurity. That is the most certain death of all. Consider how rulers use splendor, not for comfort, but for command. Thrones of gold, palaces of marble, armies draped in bright colors. These are not luxuries. They are instruments of terror and respect. The palace itself is a weapon, for its magnificence convinces subjects that their ruler is divine, untouchable, ordained. If a prince were to dress simply, to walk without guards, to eat like a commoner, the people might love him, but they would never fear him. And without fear, his throne would be fragile. Thus rulers invest fortunes in spectacle, for spectacle is the strongest fortress. Learn from this, even in private life, the trappings of wealth shield you like armor. To discard them is to step naked into a battlefield. You may argue that honesty is noble, that to display your poverty is to live truthfully, but truth is a weak currency in the marketplace of power. The honest beggar dies forgotten, while the deceiver cloaked in riches becomes master of men. Do you think merchants truly weigh honesty when they lend coin? They weigh appearance. Do you think soldiers follow honesty into battle? They follow the shining standard, the promise of plunder, the sight of grandeur. Do you think a woman chooses honesty in love? She chooses the symbol of strength, the man who looks as though he can provide. Everywhere, in every matter of life, appearance commands while truth begs. To cling to honesty without mastery of appearances is not virtue. It is suicide disguised as morality. Understand also the cruelty of memory. When a man first meets you, he remembers the image you show him, not the words you speak. That image, once etched, governs every judgment thereafter. If the first impression is one of wealth, he will forgive later failings, for he will cling to that noble picture. If the first impression is one of poverty, no later success will fully erase it. You will always carry the scent of lack. Men trust what they saw first, and they rarely abandon it. Therefore, the first time you step into any room, you must appear more powerful than you are. Do not wait until you have wealth to look wealthy. Do not wait until you have power to look powerful. Pretend until you possess, and once you possess, never let them see you without it. Even the arts of religion and politics are soaked in this law. Priests drape themselves in robes, not because God demands silk, but because men respect silk more than holiness. Judges sit in elevated chairs, not because justice requires height, but because men bow more easily to those who look taller. Politicians speak from balconies, not because words fly farther from stone, but because men believe those above them must be important. The mask is everything. The ceremony is everything. The theater is everything. The people are blinded by vision and deaf to substance. And so the man who appears poor in such a theater is not seen as humble. He is seen as unworthy of the stage. His voice cannot reach beyond the curtain of his appearance. This is why you must fear not only poverty itself, but the look of poverty. To lack coin is dangerous, but to look as though you lack it is fatal. Many men climb from poverty to greatness by disguising themselves, by creating the illusion of fortune long before they possess it. They borrow garments, they polish their speech, they master gestures, they dine with those above them until the world forgets they ever came from below. And once the world forgets, they are safe. But those who parade their rags, those who let the world know they are poor, are condemned forever to kneel. For the world rarely allows a man to rise from the image he first chose. And if that image is poverty, then poverty will be his prison, no matter how far he climbs. The lesson is merciless, but truth always is. You must never look poor, even if you are, because the eye of man is swifter than his reason. And once it has judged you, you cannot escape its verdict. The man who looks rich, even when empty, is feared and respected. The man who looks poor, even when full of wisdom, is despised and ignored. This law binds rulers and beggars alike. You may break every other rule and survive, but break this one, and you are already destroyed. And the destruction does not come with thunder or flame. It comes quietly, in doors that never open, in allies that never appear, in voices that never listen. It comes in silence, in emptiness, in being forgotten. And there is no slower, colder death than that. And so you must understand the danger of letting yourself be seen in want. For men exploit not only your weakness, but their memory of it. Once you are known as poor, every gesture you make afterward is colored by suspicion. If you rise, they whisper that you rose by luck, by deceit, by some unnatural trick. They will not attribute your success to talent or effort, but to fortune's accident, and so they will deny you honor. Poverty stains the man even when wealth later clothes him. The crowd does not forget, and because it does not forget, it does not forgive. To escape poverty is difficult, but to escape the reputation of poverty is almost impossible. That is why prevention is better than cure. It is better to cloak your poverty at the start than to attempt to erase it once revealed. Observe how the cunning survive. They may not own much, but they invest in appearances as if appearances were gold itself. The coat is polished though borrowed, the shoes are clean though worn, the words are firm though the stomach is empty. By the time others discover the truth, it is too late. The image has already done its work. Respect was gained, doors were opened, trust was given. This is the art of survival. He who fails to practice it becomes the naked man among wolves. The wolves do not pity him, they tear him apart. The cunning man, even when hungry, feeds on the illusions he casts, and through those illusions he buys time to make them real. Illusion first, reality second. This is the only order that power obeys. Do not believe that honesty about your condition will inspire sympathy. Men may show pity, but pity is contempt disguised. They give alms to the beggar not to honor him, but to rid themselves of his shameful sight. They lower a coin as if throwing it to an animal, hoping it will disappear from their view. This is not respect. This is dismissal. He who relies on pity enslaves himself to those who despise him. To be pitied is worse than to be ignored. It makes you an object, not a man. Better to be feared, better to be envied, better even to be hated than to be pitied. For fear, envy, and hatred acknowledge power, while pity acknowledges only failure. To appear poor is to beg for pity, and to beg for pity is to carve your own chains. The stage of the world is cruel, and every man must play a role. You cannot choose to be unseen, for the eye of others is always upon you. Since you cannot escape their gaze, you must control it. Do not let them see you as you are. Let them see you as you must be. If you are poor, clothe yourself in symbols of strength. If you are weak, speak as though you command. If you are uncertain, move as though every step was planned. Men are too lazy to look beyond the surface. They believe what they see. Show them confidence. They believe in your power. Show them finery. They believe in your wealth. Show them despair. They believe in your defeat. The stage is not optional. To refuse to play is to lose before the game begins. Even the smallest details betray you or protect you. The way you stand, the way you shake a hand, the way your voice rises or falters, these are signals stronger than words. The poor man slouches, his voice is hesitant, his eyes dart. The world sees these signals and decides instantly, unworthy, unsafe, unfit. The same man, if he straightens his back, steadies his voice, hardens his eyes, may fool the crowd into believing he is a lord. And if they believe it long enough, the world will rearrange itself to fit the lie. For perception shapes reality more than reality shapes perception. Those who command appearances command destiny. Those who neglect appearances are enslaved by them. Consider the enemy who watches you. He does not strike when you are strong. He strikes when you look weak. If your garments are torn, if your carriage is unkempt, if your tone trembles, he sees his moment. He advances not because you are truly powerless, but because you appear powerless. Appearance invites aggression more than truth does. Nations are invaded not always because they are weak, but because they look weak. Merchants are cheated not because they lack coin, but because they look desperate. Husbands are betrayed not because they are unlovable, but because they look diminished. All betrayals are fed by the sight of vulnerability. To look poor is to walk with your back exposed, inviting the knife. This is why a man must learn to live as an actor, hiding his hunger behind a mask, hiding his desperation behind ceremony. It is not falsehood, it is survival. The world does not reward the naked truth, it rewards the clothed illusion. A farmer in his field may labor honestly, but he will be treated as dirt until he dresses as a master. A thinker may uncover wisdom, but he will be silenced until he speaks as though he owns a throne. A soldier may have courage, but he will be overlooked until his armor gleams. The mask must precede the man, and once the mask is worn long enough, it fuses with the face. Then the illusion is no longer illusion, it becomes reality. But the man who refuses the mask remains forever outside the theater, howling to an audience that will never listen. And here lies the cruelest paradox. Poverty itself is a challenge, but the appearance of poverty is a death sentence. One can recover from lack of coin. One cannot recover from the contempt it breeds. That is why you must fight not only against hunger, but against the sight of hunger, not only against weakness, but against the display of weakness. You must fight to cloak yourself at all times in strength, even if that strength is a shadow. For men obey shadows as if they were substance, and he who fails to master shadows will never command substance. To escape this fate, you must learn the alchemy of perception, the art of turning nothing into something by sheer force of image. A man with empty pockets who walks with certainty commands more respect than a man with gold who trembles. The crowd sees not into your chest, but into your gestures, and from gestures it builds its truth. If you smile at the right moment, if your silence is timed with precision, if your clothing whispers wealth even when it is borrowed, men will swear you possess hidden power. They will invent strength for you, and in their invention you will inherit it. Power begins as an echo. Make the world echo your superiority, and soon it will become real. But allow the world to echo your weakness, and that weakness will bury you long before the grave does. Understand that wealth is never merely possession of coin, it is possession of symbols. The crown itself is only metal, yet when placed on a head, it terrifies armies. The robe is only fabric, yet when draped on shoulders, it silences courts. The palace is only stone, yet when gilded, it commands the loyalty of nations. In the same way, the poor man who acquires even the smallest symbol can transform perception. A single ring, a polished pair of boots, a voice that does not waver. These are not trinkets, they are weapons. They force others to recalibrate their judgment, to hesitate before dismissing you, to wonder if they underestimated your power. Hesitation is all you need, for in hesitation lies the opportunity to strike. Once they hesitate, you are no longer prey. You have entered the realm of predator. The wise man knows he must never appear desperate. Desperation leaks from the eyes, from the mouth, from the fingers that twitch too eagerly, and men smell it, as wolves smell blood. The desperate man is offered loans at crushing terms, promises that will never be kept, favors that are changed in disguise. He is courted only to be consumed. But the man who conceals his desperation, who looks composed while flames burn behind his eyes, disarms the wolves. They retreat, uncertain whether their teeth will find flesh or steel. To mask your poverty is to mask your desperation. To mask your desperation is to force respect, and respect is the soil in which opportunity grows. Without it, you are trampled. With it, you may one day command. Look at the rise of cunning princes who began with nothing but learned to stage their fortune. They attended feasts dressed finer than their means allowed, borrowing garments, borrowing words, borrowing dignity until the world accepted the illusion. And once the illusion was accepted, real power followed, for men invest in those they already believe in. No merchant lends coin to a beggar who looks poor, but many lend to a beggar who looks like a prince. No army follows a general who looks broken, but they follow one who looks already victorious. Deception of appearance is not betrayal, it is strategy. It is the seed from which reality blossoms. But those who refuse to deceive, who cling to their nakedness, die with their integrity intact and their names forgotten. The cruelest truth is that the world despises weakness, yet forces men into weakness daily. The majority toil, the majority hunger, the majority live in scarcity, yet they hide it as though it were a crime, because indeed it is treated as one. And so life itself becomes a theatre where every actor must perform wealth, strength, certainty. Some perform poorly and are jeered. Some perform well and are applauded. But the stage allows no absence. To step on it without costume is to be ridiculed until silence becomes your only refuge. If life is a stage, then to look poor is to appear unclothed before the mob. And the mob does not forgive nakedness, it devours it. To survive, you must costume yourself. To rule, you must dazzle them until they forget there was ever a costume at all. Do not mistake this as an invitation to vanity. Vanity is weakness disguised as pride. What I teach you is calculation. Every coin you spend on appearance is a weapon bought. Every hour you devote to posture and bearing is a fortress built. Vanity seeks applause. Strategy seeks survival. Vanity wastes wealth on ornaments. Strategy invests wealth in signals of power. The vain man wants to be admired. The cunning man wants to be obeyed. The vain man looks rich only to satisfy his reflection. The cunning man looks rich to bend the will of others. One is self-indulgence, the other is war, and life is war. Every street, every marketplace, every council hall is a battlefield of perception. On this battlefield, the man who looks poor has already lost before the first blow is struck. You must therefore discipline yourself never to be careless with appearances. A wrinkle in your clothing can be a crack in your armor. A tremor in your voice can be the opening your enemy's wound. A gesture of hesitation can invite the strike that kills you. Men do not forgive these things. They do not say, he was only tired, he was only distracted, he was only poor. They say, he is weak, and weakness, once named, cannot be untied from you. It becomes your brand, burned into your skin by the gaze of others. They see it once, and they see it forever. Guard yourself as you would guard your throne, for every glance at you is a judgment, and every judgment is either a step toward power or a step toward ruin. The decision rests not in their eyes, but in the image you present to them. And yet many will tell you that substance matters more than surface, that true character will shine through despite humble clothes, that honesty and effort are enough to secure a man's place. This is the language of fools, taught to children so they remain obedient, whispered to the poor so they stay content, preached from pulpits so the weak do not revolt. But observe the world with cold eyes, and you will see that the rich are honored even when they are corrupt, that the powerful are celebrated even when they are cruel, and that the poor are scorned even when they are virtuous. Men judge with their eyes long before their minds, and once their eyes condemn you, no act of nobility will redeem you. It is not justice that rules human affairs, it is perception, and perception is blind to the truth, but sharp to the mask. This is why rulers cloak themselves in ritual. A coronation is not about governance, but about spectacle. Incense rises, bells ring, robes shimmer, not because these things create wisdom in the prince, but because they create obedience in the people. They see grandeur, they bow, they see finery, they submit. The man beneath the robe may be a coward, but the robe itself transforms him into something feared. If a king were to walk into his court dressed as a beggar, even if his power remained, his grip would falter. The same men who once trembled before him would now laugh in his face. The crown would still sit on his head, but it would have lost its power. Power is not in the object, but in the image of the object. Lose the image, and you lose the obedience it commands. Even in private dealings, this law holds. A merchant who arrives at the table looking poor will be offered crumbs, even if his chest is full of gold. The buyer assumes weakness, and weakness invites insult. Another merchant, though his purse is lighter, enters adorned and poised, and suddenly he is courted. His words are valued, his requests are met, contracts are signed, not because his arguments are better, but because his image was stronger. In negotiation, truth sits in silence, while appearance speaks loudly. You must never forget this. To look poor in business is to bleed profit before the first word is spoken. The man who masters appearances has already won half the battle before ink touches the page. Think also of how armies march. A commander knows the strength of his men lies not only in their swords, but in their show. Flags are raised high, drums thunder, armor gleams in the sun. Even a tired, underfed army can terrify the enemy if it looks unbreakable, and even a strong, well-trained force can collapse if it looks ragged and hopeless. The battle is decided first in the mind, and the mind judges by appearances. Soldiers fight harder when they believe they are led by strength. Citizens obey longer when they believe their ruler possesses endless resources. Enemies hesitate when they believe their opponent is untouchable. If you look poor, every enemy will advance upon you without fear. If you look rich, they will hesitate, and in hesitation lies your survival. There is also the matter of allies. A man who looks poor will find his circle filled with vultures who offer aid only to extract more from him. They will lend him small sums, not out of kindness, but to bind him in chains of debt. They will flatter him, not because they respect him, but because they see him as pliable. And when the time comes to choose between him and a rival who looks wealthy, they will abandon him instantly, for loyalty in this world is a transaction, and men prefer to invest where they believe profit lies. If you look poor, you are already bankrupt in their eyes, no matter the truth of your worth. But if you look rich, even when your coffers are empty, they will fight to remain near you, hoping to feed on your promise. Allies are not won with honesty. They are purchased with appearance. The same cruelty governs love. A man who looks poor may be praised for his heart, but he will rarely be chosen. Women seek security, and security is first seen in symbols of strength. The suitor who enters dressed in refinement, speaking with composure, appearing as though he holds the world in his palm, will win devotion even if he owns nothing. The suitor who comes in rags may offer genuine affection, but affection cannot compete with fear of hunger. Appearances decide where loyalty lies. To look poor in love is to beg for rejection, to beg for betrayal, to beg for humiliation. Those who refuse to master this law condemn themselves to loneliness or exploitation. Those who embrace it bend even the most skeptical hearts to their command. You may believe that rejecting appearances makes you free, that refusing the mask liberates you from the chains of society's judgment. But this is a dangerous illusion. The world will not honor your defiance. It will punish it. Men who refuse to play the game are not respected. They are erased. Their voices do not carry. Their influence does not spread. Their ambitions rot before they bear fruit. Freedom without power is a cage, and power without appearances is an impossibility. You cannot escape the stage. You can only choose whether you appear upon it as master or as fool. The man who looks poor plays the fool. The man who cloaks himself in wealth, even when false, plays the master. And men obey the master while they laugh at the fool. Never forget, the eye is the tyrant of judgment. The crowd does not care for what is hidden in your chest. They care only for what they can see in an instant. Look poor, and you have already lost before the conversation begins. Look rich, and even your silence commands respect. Appearances are not ornaments. They are weapons, shields, fortresses. And without them, you stand naked, trembling, and ready for slaughter. Consider what happens when a man allows himself to be seen in rags. He may have noble intentions, a brilliant mind, or even a secret fortune, but the instant the eye registers poverty, judgment is passed and cannot be withdrawn. Every word he speaks afterward is weighed against that first image and found lighter. Every claim he makes is doubted, every promise distrusted, every ambition mocked. His poverty becomes the lens through which all else is seen. This is why first impressions are weapons sharper than swords. They strike before the mind can resist. Once cut, the wound lingers forever. And in politics, in business, in love, a wounded reputation never fully heals. To look poor is to inflict that wound upon yourself before your enemies even draw their blades. A ruler understands this instinctively. He parades in robes, crowns, jewels, surrounded by banners and guards, not for comfort, but for power. The show is the substance. Without the robes, he is just a man, vulnerable to ridicule, vulnerable to disobedience. The crowd bows not to his flesh, but to the symbols that clothe it. If he was stripped of them, if he appeared as a beggar, no amount of laws or decrees could protect him from mockery and revolt. The throne itself would shatter, because the throne lives only in the minds of those who believe in its grandeur. This lesson extends beyond kings. Every man who wishes to rule, even if only over his household or his trade, must clothe himself in symbols that declare authority. To appear poor is to invite rebellion against you, even from those who once served you loyally. And yet, some men comfort themselves with the lie that sincerity will carry them. They say, if I work hard, if I speak truly, if I am honest about my poverty, men will respect me. But sincerity without spectacle is invisible. It is the whisper of a dying man against the roar of a trumpet. No one hears it. And if they do hear it, they despise it. For men do not admire honesty when it reveals weakness. They admire cunning. They admire strength. They admire the performance of wealth. You may toil endlessly. You may speak with the voice of reason. But if you look poor, your labor will be stolen and your words ignored. The world does not reward effort. It rewards appearances. And the man who refuses to understand this condemns himself to be a servant until death. Think of how betrayal is born. Rarely do men betray those who look powerful. They hesitate, fearing the retribution that might follow. But when a man looks poor, betrayal comes swiftly, for there is no fear of consequence. The servant steals from the poor master because he knows his master lacks strength to punish him. The ally abandons the poor comrade because he knows no power will come in retaliation. The wife despises the poor husband because she knows no protection can shield her. Weakness invites treachery, and treachery multiplies when weakness is displayed. To look poor is to hang a sign on your back that reads, "Betray me without fear." The man who avoids this fate is not always strong, but he is always cautious enough to conceal his weakness. Even in war, this truth devours the careless. A general whose men look tired and ragged is already half defeated. His enemies see their chance. His allies lose faith. His soldiers lose spirit. Appearances crush morale before the battle is joined, but a general who invests in spectacle, who ensures his men look fierce, who raises banners and polishes armor, even when food is scarce, commands victory through illusion. The enemy falters, the allies rally, the soldiers fight as though possessed. Victory is written in the eyes before it is written on the ground, and so it is with life itself. If you look poor, you are defeated before the battle begins. If you look rich, you may win even when your strength is small. Men fight harder for those who appear unconquerable. Men abandon quickly those who appear already conquered. There are men who rise not by birth, nor by fortune, but by the mastery of disguise. They craft images so strong that reality bends to meet them. They rent carriages they cannot afford. They wear garments borrowed. They speak with authority they have not yet earned. And the world, gullible as ever, bows to the illusion. Opportunities arise, alliances form, doors open. What was once false becomes true, for men believe so firmly in appearances that they make them real. This is the alchemy of power. To look wealthy is to be treated as wealthy, and to be treated as wealthy is to gain wealth. To look poor is to be treated as poor, and to be treated as poor is to sink deeper into poverty. Illusion feeds reality, reality feeds illusion, and the cycle spins forever. The wise man rides it upward, the fool is crushed beneath it. You may still cling to the hope that exceptions exist, that a man of genius or virtue might be spared this law. But genius without appearance is dismissed as madness, and virtue without appearance is dismissed as weakness. The saint in rags is spat upon, while the charlatan in robes is worshipped. The philosopher in poverty writes in silence, while the impostor in splendor commands disciples. Men are not moved by truth. They are moved by what they can see and touch. And because they are moved by it, they serve it, they obey it, they sacrifice for it. To look poor is to erase your own genius, your own virtue, your own worth. To look rich is to amplify them, even if they do not exist. This is the cruelty of mankind, that what is seen always outweighs what is true, and to ignore this cruelty is to sign your own death warrant. There is another danger in looking poor. It marks you as replaceable. Men do not value what they believe is abundant, and poverty is the most abundant sight in the world. Every street has beggars, every market has the desperate, every village has the broken. When you appear among them, you dissolve into the faceless mass. No one distinguishes you, no one remembers you, no one fights to preserve you. You become one more nameless shadow, easily discarded. But when you appear adorned in symbols of wealth and strength, you set yourself apart from the herd. You force men to take notice, to whisper your name, to consider your presence. Distinction is power, and appearances are the first, most immediate tool of distinction. Without them, you are swallowed by obscurity. With them, you carve yourself into memory. Even allies will not fight for a man who looks poor. They may share his bread, they may smile at his humility, but when battle calls, they will stand behind another who looks as though he commands destiny. Men want to be associated with triumph, not with shame. They tie their fortunes to the image of power, not the image of lack. This is why those who appear rich attract loyalty even when they are unworthy, while those who appear poor, in every circle, in every council, the choice is made. Follow the man who looks like a winner. Leave behind the man who looks like a burden. To look poor is to brand yourself as dead weight, and no man willingly chains himself to what drags him down. The same law governs enemies. They strike quickly at the man who looks poor, for they sense no risk in doing so. He appears defenseless, so they attack with boldness. They appear merciful in sparing him, but the mercy is only mockery, for they never feared him to begin with. But against the man who looks rich, who radiates the image of strength, enemies hesitate. They calculate, they delay, they wonder what hidden weapons or allies he might hold. That hesitation is the difference between life and death. One is assaulted without pause, the other commands fear even without action. The man who looks poor invites predators to feast on him, while the man who looks rich poisons the air with doubt, and doubt restrains the boldest hands. Fear protects more than steel, and fear is born from appearances. Even the marketplace reflects this cruel symmetry. The customer who looks poor is cheated, given the lowest quality, treated with disdain. The customer who looks rich is courted, offered the best, treated with reverence. The irony is that the poor man often has the same coin as the rich-looking one, but the treatment is not determined by the weight of the purse, it is determined by the weight of the appearance. Men do not calculate, They react, they assume, and in their assumption lies your fate. If they assume weakness, you are dismissed. If they assume power, you are elevated. Appearances are the shortcut of judgment, and men are too impatient for anything else. That is why the man who looks poor is doomed to lose, even when he possesses everything needed to win. Do not think that humility will win you secret admiration. Humility is praised only when it is worn by the powerful. When a king humbles himself, men marvel because they know he has the option of grandeur. When a poor man humbles himself, men sneer because they see only inevitability. The king's humility is choice. The poor man's humility is compulsion. Choice is respected, compulsion is despised. To look poor is to show that your humility is forced upon you, and nothing forced commands admiration. If you wish to be admired, you must first cloak yourself in power. Only then can your humility appear as virtue. Without that cloak, it appears as weakness, and weakness is spat upon. And so the path is clear. You must invest more in appearances than in comfort, more in symbols than in luxuries, more in what men can see than in what you yourself can enjoy. A rich meal eaten in solitude grants only momentary pleasure. A fine coat worn in public grants lasting power. A private treasure buried in the earth keeps you alive in silence, but a borrowed jewel displayed in the open can build you an empire. Appearances magnify every possession, every act, every word. Without them, even wealth shrinks to nothing. With them, even poverty swells into influence. The wise man chooses the latter, for he understands that men obey not what is, but what seems to be. To look poor is to lose the world. To look rich is to bend it. And this is the tragedy of those who ignore the law. They may labor tirelessly, they may speak with brilliance, they may burn with ambition, but without the mask of wealth, they remain unseen, unheard, unloved.
De Kia EV4. Opvallend nieuw. Met een rijbereik tot 625 kilometer.
Kia, movement that inspires.
Rule 1. A true friend always paints you in the best light.
Kunnen je spieren wat extra aandacht gebruiken na het bewegen? Blaadje erop. Spierenveel warm van VSM. Ondersteunt het herstel van je spieren.